Hi all, and welcome back to the channel, United TV. Some of our regular guests and viewers may recognise me. I'm Jules. I'm in for Rich tonight, bringing you the latest Manchester United news, transfers, midfield targets, managerial appointments and contract negotiations, and anything else that you guys want to speak about in the chat as well. Please get all your comments in throughout the show and we'll go through those topics as well. But I just want to say thank you, first of all. There's already some legends in the chat, so I want to give my shout outs. I can see already we've got Pundit Katie in the chat. We've got Rich, we've got I'm Titanium, we've got Rob, we've got Bilal. There's a few more as well. Berber, Agile Beast. It's been a few weeks since we've all spoken, so it's nice to see you back again, everyone. And yeah, looking forward to a good show. And we've actually got some breaking news, which is one of the main topics tonight. Came up about half an hour ago, and this is one from Fabrizio Romano. So I'm just going to go ahead with this one as the leading story. It may be breaking news to some of you, and it may be something that you've already seen. So we'll just go into it and we'll just have a look at this one. So this was the slide that I was preparing to show you tonight. This is the latest midfield targets that we've been linked with this week. Of course, changes on a daily basis, but these ones were very much coming into today, probably the top three names that have been spoken about. And that is KOOPMEINERS on the left-hand side, who is a Juventus player. He's been at Juventus for 3 seasons, formerly of Atalanta. But his form has not really reached the heights of when he was at Atalanta. So possible exit for him at Juventus on the cards. TCHOUAMENI, who Rich covered earlier in the day, so that proves how quickly things move on in the world of football transfers. And Alex Scott on the right-hand side there for Bournemouth, who is another player that we've been linked with, highly rated, 23-year-old from Bournemouth, probably going to cost in the region of about 50 million. But I told you I'd bring you some breaking news. So the breaking news, and prepare yourself for this graphic. Romano's been on the phone and he has cut the tie with this transfer story. He says that Real Madrid have no intention of signing TCHOUAMENI, and Manchester United are looking at 2 midfield options. So I just want to get your opinion on this one. Obviously, this has been discussed earlier in the day and also on last night's show as well. This is a player that has got great qualities. He struggled for form about 12 months ago. I did a bit of research on some Real Madrid forums, and it did appear that the fans at Real Madrid weren't happy with his level of performance. They felt that he'd really dropped off in the last 12 months. And Camavinga was the one actually who was starting to push ahead in the pecking order. But there were some altercations with Real Madrid fans. There was allegations of racism as well. So there was a situation brewing. And I think about 12 months ago, United were linked at that point with TCHOUAMENI. But his form has picked up since about January, February time. So his form now is beginning to look back to his best. From what I can tell from Real Madrid fans, they think he's coming back into his best form. And as I said, Real Madrid have got no intention of selling TCHOUAMENI. So I think this one is probably dead in the water. Let me know your thoughts on this. United till I die. Great to see you as always. Good evening. Hope you're well. I'm Titanium. Bilal. TCHOUAMENI hasn't died. He hasn't died. Don't be fooled by the graphic. That's just my paint skills. Don't be fooled by the graphic. It's just to signify that TCHOUAMENI is probably off the table for this summer. But we've got plenty of other targets. We've got a couple of targets that we've been linked with in the most recent 2 or 3 days, certainly this week. So we can talk about those, or we can talk about any other stories regarding our midfield targets. There's been plenty of them, so we shouldn't be short of content. But one of the other stories that I wanted to go along to a bit later on, but I'll touch on it now, is you may have seen talks are progressing with Kobbie Mainoo over a new deal. So The figure that's been spoken about is something in the region of 120 to 150,000 per week. It depends which source you go by, and maybe to do with bonuses and base salary may be different as well. So we're talking about somewhere in the region of a first team player's salary for Kobbie Mainoo. And I think, given his form over the last few weeks, he looks back to his best. And if he's back to his best, he's a very promising player. So when we're thinking about midfield targets, we're thinking about targets who are going to complement Kobbie Mainoo. Just going into yeah, thanks for clearing it up, Katie. Don't want to alarm anyone, so if anyone's just coming into the stream, they've seen the picture of TCHOUAMENI. It's not an RIP. It's just the deal is dead in the water. But United Till I Die brings up something that's made me very happy indeed, actually. This is the latest score in the Chelsea versus Brighton game, and that is at half-time, Brighton are leading 1-0. So that actually means that Brighton leapfrogged Chelsea in the table, and that means that it's good. It's good for us. It gives us an extra point buffer, I think, on the sixth place, which is we need to finish inside the top 5 to reach Champions League this season. So it helps us out if it was in doubt at all. But Niall, big up Niall. Haven't seen you for a while, so great to see you in the chat. This is my first show back since the rebrand, so yeah, good to see you again, Niall, and I hope you're well. And United Till I Die says, what a season. Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea, all playing dross football. Yeah, I think Arsenal are certainly having a wobble. They're having a wobble these last few weeks. However, I would say I watched the Man City match. I thought that was a decent display. Any team can lose to Man City when they're on the game. And I think City gave them respect as well, because certainly in that first half, Arsenal did look like they were trying to press Man City and actually trying to come out and play football, which is something we haven't seen much from a Mikel Arteta team at the Etihad. So they were beaten on the day, but in my opinion, it's not over yet. I think it is going to be a tense finish, and there's going to be a twist every week. So one to watch. But yeah, certainly, Spurs, we can all take some joy in that situation at the minute. And the late equaliser that was it Brighton they were playing? The late equaliser that Brighton scored was certainly a kick in the teeth for them. But Stephanie, big up. Hope you're well, Stephanie. Hope you're well. Neil Driscoll as well. Neil Driscoll, saw you on the phone-in on Sunday. It's good to see your face and hear your thoughts and opinions. So get them in the chat today, and we'll discuss those as well. But great to see you, Neil, as always. Cody says, if Chelsea lose, we've got Brentford and Bournemouth. Brentford and Bournemouth lurking. Yeah, I think we've just got 1 or 2 extra points gap between us and those. So what I'm hoping is in the next 2 or 3 games we can really cement that top 4, top 5 position in the table, and then maybe we'll start to see the players relax. Maybe the handbrake comes off. Because some of the performances recently have been a bit turgid. Certainly, the Leeds game was one where we just didn't turn up. Chelsea, I thought, was a gritty performance. We've found it difficult there over the last few seasons, so I wasn't too concerned about that. The important thing there was the 3 points, and that's what we got. United. This is Rich. Sorry, Rich. Just getting used to your new handle there. Rich says, which midfielders do you want to sign? Well, I'm open to lots of different players. I think Anderson's a good player. The thing is, there's going to be probably a merry-go-round in midfield, certainly. You've got the likes of Rodri, who may be leaving Man City. Looks like he may be flirting with Real Madrid. So if Rodri leaves Manchester City, then Elliot Anderson looks like the most likely replacement for Rodri at Man City. So we could see Anderson go there. That would mean we miss out. So then you're probably looking at some other options. Alex Scott, actually, pictured on the right-hand side. He's impressed me. I haven't seen a great deal of Bournemouth, but when I have seen Alex Scott, he carries himself with a confidence, and I think United players need that confidence. We've seen Ugarte come in. Ugarte was signed from Paris Saint-Germain, and I think he can be an effective player, but I think playing for Manchester United is too big for him. He doesn't seem to have the personality and that swagger, that confidence that you need as a Manchester United player. You know, you think of the likes of, I'm going to say an unpopular name here, but someone like Paul Pogba. He carried himself with that arrogance and that belief of a Manchester United player, and ultimately, you know, it probably didn't work out as well as it could have done. But you're looking for that kind of like cockiness and just self-belief, really. So I like Alex Scott. I think he's got that. I think he's got the self-belief, and he's a good player. So I think he'd be a good option. Probably the figure we're talking about there is probably about 50 million plus. So he might be one of the cheaper deals that we look at in midfield. You've then also got Carlos Baleba, who I think for me, I wouldn't be going for that one right now, given his form. So I'll stay clear of that. So, okay, I'm going to go for Scott and maybe a Hayden Hackney, someone like that. And then I would like to get a third option in as well. And I think the combination of Scott and a Hackney, you know, you're spending maybe 80 million there between two players. And I think that leaves us with potentially another 70, 80 million on a real marquee player. So I don't know who I would bring in as the marquee signing, to be honest. I'll probably look at the chat and look for some inspiration in the chat. So get your names in. But good question, Rich. Katie's on the Belieber watch. Yeah, keep your eyes glued to that, or one eye glued to that match, Katie. Let us know how he's doing. But as Stephanie says, 15 likes. It's a good effort from everyone, so thank you for that. Keep getting the likes in if you haven't done it already. It's easy to forget. I've come into a stream and I've been watching for half an hour, and then all of a sudden I've gone, oh, I haven't liked the stream. So yeah, keep an eye on the likes, and hit the like if you haven't done already. Any new people watching as well, this is United TV, and subscribe if you like what you're seeing so far. United Till I Die says Buardi, Hackney and Belieber would be decent investments and all young. Lots of positivity about Buardi. Not someone I'm massively familiar with, to be honest. I know that Rich and a couple of others in the regular viewers list do like that player. Hackney's one at Middlesbrough, who I think he's in line for possible player of the season shout in the Championship. He's in the running anyway, so there's a good player. And certainly for you're looking at the price tag there, and you're saying, well, he might cost us 25, 30 million, but in the context of how many midfielders we do need, given that Ugarte and Casemiro are probably going to be out the door, Hackney's probably one you can put in, and he'd be a good squad option. So I wouldn't be averse to that. Belieber, despite his lack of form, I do believe that this could be one of the ones where the club has kind of already done the groundwork. And possibly there was an agreement where he was going to sign for us this summer. He's stayed at Brighton for an additional year. That's just my opinion. I do think that we'll have got this deal done, the Belieber one. But I do think the form is a concern. So hopefully that is just temporary. Rich says, Rich quite likes Alex Scott as well for 50 million-ish, which I think that's pretty much the figure that's being mentioned with him. Katie's got some good shouts, actually. And one of those is a player that I was very fond of when he was at Southampton. But I'll start with the first one, which is Angelo Stiller from Stuttgart. Now, this is one where we know that Vivell has a scouting network, and he's very familiar with players from the Bundesliga. So Stiller, I think, is one of those who's quite likely, in my opinion, to be looked at with serious interest from United. He's also potentially a cheaper option, so maybe in the same kind of price bracket as Alex Scott. Matheus Fernandes was a player that went down with Southampton last season, but really he was the standout player along with Tyler Dibbling. Fernandes really made them quite dangerous in attack when he had that ball in central positions, and it's taken him a while to get going at West Ham. I don't think there's any doubt about that, but second half of the season, and with the upturn in West Ham's form, Fernandes has really looked like the player that was at Southampton. So he is a player that if West Ham were to go down, which is still a possibility, I would be jumping in with both feet to try and get that player, because I do think he's a very good player and would bolster our midfield with quality and physicality. So Fernandes is a very good shout actually from Kobbie. And if you're asking me for one of the other signings we could make, maybe he's one. And João Gomez of Wolves as well. So either way, he's going to be off from Wolves, isn't he? Because they're going down to the Championship, so they're going to have to cash in on some of their bigger assets. So João Gomez is one of those. Impressed me when we played them recently, in one of the two games anyway. United Till I Die says Stiller would also be great for the price. Yeah, lots of fans of Stiller. If we're talking about, so we know now that Mainoo is getting that contract extension. I think it's only a matter of time. It's formalities now before that is signed. So that's our midfield first pick for now, is Kobbie Mainoo. So we're going to need players to go alongside him. So Mainoo, the way he's been playing at the minute is he's been breaking up play and basically keeping the ball moving without doing anything particularly fancy with the ball. He's just keeping it moving. He's driving with the ball when he needs to, and keeping it simple when he needs to. He's just doing the simple things. So to have someone like Stiller, who's someone who can break the lines, who can knit play, that might be a very good complementary partner for Kobbie Mainoo. KD says his pick is Anderson, based on Anderson not being realistic, Tonali being too pricey, and Wharton not being a good fit. Not keen on Belieber. Yeah, Tonali, the figures that Newcastle are talking about are just way beyond what what we'd be willing to pay for him. So it comes down to who is going to pay that money for Tonali, because where's the interest for Tonali? If we're talking about Syria, the money's not there to be paying north of 100 million or anything close to that for Tonali. So I think Newcastle are going to price themselves out of that and leave themselves with an unhappy player, and inevitably towards the end of the window they're going to reduce that price tag. So if we are in for Tonali, my prediction is that if we're in for him, it will be late in the window, and that will be our last signing. Stephanie says Gomez, Alex Scott, Hayden Hackney and Stiller. One extra for luck. Yeah, why not? Let's get 4. At that price, we probably could. Gomez, maybe he's about 40 million. Scott, 50. Hackney, maybe 30. And Stiller, maybe around 40, 50. So, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt we need numbers. According to Romano's comment earlier, and depending on how much information he's got, how much reliable information, he thinks we're in seriously for 2 quality midfielders. I would be very inclined to bring in a third, because we're going to have additional games next season. Unless we keep Agate, which seems unlikely at this stage, then I think we need at least 3. At least 3 to go alongside Mainoo. And I'm predicting that we don't bring back Collier from his loan, so I think that'll be another squad player that leaves as well. So unless we're going to bring in the likes of Kone from the academy, maybe one of the Fletcher boys, but really it seems a bit early in their development, to be honest. Yeah, KD, he's a player that I've picked up on probably in the last few months. I didn't know much about him before that. but from the bits and pieces I've seen, yeah, he looks like an accomplished player. And as I said, I think he's got that kind of X factor that a United player should have in that midfield. I don't think he'll shy away, so put it that way. I think Ugarte has kind of shied away from the glamour of Old Trafford, and he's really wilted under the pressure. I don't think he's a bad player, but Jim, great to see you, Jim. Hope you're well. If you didn't know already, TCHOUAMENI hasn't died. Don't be fooled by the greyed out photo. He hasn't died. He's probably just off the table, according to Romano, and that was the lead story for today. Katie says Belieber is a gamble. You could get him, and he could be a beast, but he's concerned given the reports that Brighton are managing him due to injury. Yeah, there could be. We don't know the reason for the drop-off in form. I think the facts are there has been a big drop-off in form. The facts are that he's been taken off at half-time in a number of games this season, which is not a good sign. Yeah, it's difficult to know why the drop-off in form. Is it because he's a young player and every young player goes through these periods? Is it, is it personal circumstances? Is it that he didn't get the move to Manchester United? It's all kind of speculation, but it's not encouraging, is it? That's what I would say. United Till I Die says Kadioglu from Brighton is a very good left back. Yeah, that's one we were linked with actually. Last summer, he was one of the names that we were linked with briefly. Been impressed with him when I've seen him a couple of times. Yeah, looks like a good option. And given that Luke Shaw is coming to the end of his United career, either this summer or probably next summer, we're going to need to bring on the next kind of left back option, and yeah, that might be one we look at. We've got other options in the squad. Diego Leon, who's obviously in the academy at the minute, he's probably not one for next season, maybe the season after. We've got Dorgu, although he's kind of looked better at further forward when he's played. And then really you're looking at players who are kind of just, you're trying to shoehorn in, and yeah, you don't want to be going down that route. Neil's pick would be Alex Scott and Aidan Hackney. Yeah, I know listening to you on the show on Sunday, Neil, you're a big watcher of the Championship, so Hackney, if he's impressed you, that's good. That's a good sign. I've seen him in person on one occasion. He got sent off after about 15 minutes though, so I didn't get to see much of him, to be honest, so I can't really give you much of a live report on that player, but when I've seen him on TV, he does look like a player that could step up from the Championship, but it is a big leap. It is a big leap, so I think if he was the third option, I'll be happy with that player. Yeah, so Rich, this is one I'll go on to talk about actually. This is KOOPMEINERS and Scott. So KOOPMEINERS on the left-hand side, he's a Juventus player currently. He did play for Atalanta for 3 seasons before he joined Juventus 3 years ago. He was a player that in the Atalanta team, he kind of played further forwards, made a more advanced role, maybe just off the striker or certainly attacking midfield. He scored double digits in, I think, 2 of those 3 seasons, or he certainly did score double digits in his last season. So he was pretty much a goal-scoring midfielder, if you like. Since he's gone to Juventus, he hasn't really found any form. They've obviously now got Thiago Motta as a coach. Maybe his ideas in midfield are solid players, and we've seen KOOPMEINERS kind of go further and further back, if you like, and at times he's even played centre-half as well. So hasn't been as effective goal-scoring wise, but also his form hasn't been looked upon with any great delight by the club, and that's why they're looking to move this player on. So he's 28 years old. Really, he hasn't been in great form for the last 3 years. To me, this one's a bit of a red flag, but it is a cut price deal. So we're probably looking at something in the region of 25 million. I think the figure I read was 28 million euros. So maybe about 25 million pounds or thereabouts for KOOPMEINERS. And it's one that there's a couple of teams interested in. So it's just a name in the hat. It's one we've been linked with in the last, well, probably last 24 hours, to be honest, this one. And Alex Scott is one that's is kind of, his name's been there and in conversations for a couple of weeks, but today and yesterday seems to be picking up, gathering a bit of pace. I don't know if it's because it's transfer silly season or what, but it's a player that's been very highly rated by people at Bournemouth. Some of his teammates have come out with some very interesting praise for him. I mean, one of the players he plays with currently called him a world-class potential. So, big encouragement from his own teammates. Of course, they're going to say good things about him, but from what we've seen as well, he's really stepped up, and performances against the likes of Arsenal have only encouraged that, really. And yeah, just to answer the question, Rich, KOOPMEINERS probably in the region of about 25 million or thereabouts. Yeah, Jim, this is the breaking news. TCHOUAMENI, he didn't last very long. It was nice when it lasted, wasn't it? Romano says that Real Madrid have no intention of selling TCHOUAMENI, who's been in good form the last probably 4 months or so, since the turn of the year. Before that, he was struggling for form, and Real Madrid fans were questioning whether he is the person actually to lead their midfield for the next kind of 5-6 years. But he's picked up his form again, and he's looking back to his best. So I don't know whether that was a story that was maybe rehashed from last season when he was not performing very well. Could just be one that's been picked up by journalists and gathered pace again. But doesn't look like there was any real news there, to be honest, unless it was something coming out from the player's agent, of course, which can happen. Neil Driscoll says Alex Scott's stepsister is Maya Letizier's. Maya Letizier's. Is it his? Her boyfriend is. No, there's some kind of relation there, isn't there, between him and Maya Letizier? Stepsister. Okay, so it's, Maya Letizier's stepsister. Yeah, okay. Just took me a couple of minutes there to work out the family connection. Could be one in our favour. Maya Letizier, one of the key members of the Man United women's team. So he's got links to the club. So you never know, she might be doing a bit of PR behind the scenes for us. KD says KOOPMEINERS is beyond our age range rule for signings. He's 28. Yeah, this is, I think, there was a show a couple of days ago, and I was in the comments, and I was saying that I think we're going to need at least one experienced head to join our team this season. It doesn't mean it has to be in midfield, but I think we're going to need someone, because Casemiro is leaving, whose experience is massive, like with all he's achieved, and not just at Real Madrid but at United. He's been a trophy winner with United as well, so he's someone that we're going to miss badly when it comes to Champions League football next season. You're then looking at the likes of Matthijs de Ligt, who he isn't really on the field, so there's a player that really we're missing in terms of experience as well. So we need to have someone come into the team as another leader. Whether KOOPMEINERS is a leader or not, I couldn't say, but we're going to need someone who's played for either a big club or that's got experience, at the top of international level, or something of gumption to come in and just bring that experience. KOOPMEINERS could be a cheap option to do that, but based on his, the reports people are saying about his form, then I'm not sure I'd be jumping onto that one very quickly. United Till I Die says transfermarket.com had KOOPMEINERS at 55 million at one point, but it dropped to 20 to 30. Yeah, I think this would coincide with his move from Atalanta. He was really one of the top midfielders in Italy when he was at Atalanta in his early to mid-20s. And I think when he's moved to Juventus are not the team they were. So I think it's a bit of a difficult club to play out these last few years. Managers have come and gone, players have come and gone, and I think this is just maybe another victim of that kind of cycle, to be honest. Yeah, as Rich points out, KOOPMEINERS, it seems to be a relatively new story. This is one that really came to prominence today. As I said, this is just the kind of the latest midfield targets, and already TCHOUAMENI has left the list. So sadly, I'd already put him on the slide, so I just had to quickly put a bit of a graphic over the top of him. I didn't have time to replace him, but you could probably put, 3 or 4 names there that we've been linked to this week alone. So big up Dabby Sass. Hope you're well. Hope you're good. What's my list? Yeah, it'll probably, based on a couple that I've seen in the chat, I'm going to go for Alex Scott, I think Hackney, and I really like Matheus Fernandes. I really like him, but I think if I was going to bring in Fernandes, then I'm not sure I'd bring him in if we've brought Scott and Hackney in, because I think we need someone just a bit more established. Fernandes is still a young player, so I do like him. I think if you bring in Fernandes, it would have to be replacement for one of Scott or Hackney. I don't know. I'm still on the fence, unfortunately. I've still got splinters in my backside. Put a case forward for me, Katie. Put a case forward for me. I know you're very persuasive. You're very persuasive. You can talk me around. Oh no, 2-0. Yeah, it is 2-0. Just checking on the ticker. 2-0 to Brighton. Bad news for Chelsea. Bad news for Garnacho. Big up, Jay. Hope you're well. Good to see you in the chat. Who's Skelly? Who's Skelly? I thought you meant Miles Lewis Skelly, but I don't think he's going to be joining the show. He was actually someone that was talked about as a potential left-back option for us as well. Not getting much football at Arsenal. Looked a really good player last season, and just seems to have just lost his place in the team and hasn't been getting many minutes. So could be a player that, a bit like Aiden Heaven, didn't have a pathway through to the first team. Maybe someone we could go and pinch from Arsenal. Katie says he wants Hackney as the 4th midfielder, so Stiller, Fernandes, Gomez, and Hackney. Yeah, I'd be. Tell you what, if we could get those 4 in, that would just make my summer. That would be a fantastic window for us. United Till I Die says Wilcox sacked just for suggesting Delap. Yeah, Delap he's a player of potential. Like he's got immense physicality. He caused us problems. He caused us problems when we played against him. But is he a bit of a one-trick pony? We used to talk about Lukaku being a flat-track bully. But Delap is a similar type of player, but he's less effective, I would say. Berber's feeling confident. 1 foot in the UCL. It certainly puts less pressure on us in the remaining games. We can't take our foot off the gas completely, but all of a sudden, you're looking at that Liverpool game and you're thinking, okay, we'll obviously try and win it, but now I think we can actually, not be scared to take our foot off the gas a bit and just go for it. Just go for it. Try and win the game outright. Don't be afraid of the consequences of losing. And I think that's how we're going to beat Liverpool. I'm quite confident we're going to beat Liverpool. Dabisas says his preferred options would be Stiller, Fernandez, and either one of Buardi and Sangare. Okay. Yeah, Sangare's a good player as well. Katie says, do you see us breaking our age rule for KOOPMEINERS? No. No, I don't believe so. I think we will break the age rule, though. I think we will bring in one player who is probably like late 20s, maybe 28, something like that. I don't think it'll be KOOPMEINERS, but I do think, particularly with UCL next season, Champions League, we are going to need someone with Champions League experience and someone that has played in it multiple times. So, yeah, I'm gonna say no for KOOPMEINERS. However, I do think we will bring in someone of that similar age bracket. I can almost hear the Champions League music, the Champions League music in the chat. Early shout for comment of the stream there from Davisas. He asked, this is Liam Rossini, asked AI to make his resume eye-catching. But just moving on to the next story, we can come back and talk about midfielders. That's fine. But just moving on to the next slide, Mainoo new contract. So I mentioned at the start of the stream, Samuel Luckhurst, which is a journalist from the Telegraph, I believe. He has told us that Kobbie Mainoo is they're just kind of formalising the last bits, the last details on the new contract with Kobbie Mainoo, where he will earn, according to Samuel Luckhurst, 150,000 a week. I've seen figures anywhere between 120 and 150, so I'm not sure it's, to be honest, that important to fans. But yeah, puts him on a par with other people in the team of a similar standing. So I think if he performs at the levels we've seen in recent games and how he performed 18 months ago, then he's certainly worthy of a new contract and puts him on par with other people in the team. So, it's not going to be someone that's an unhappy player or anything like that. So, yeah, good news. It's another player tied down. This is potentially the base of our midfield for the next 5 to 10 years. So I don't think there's much of a negative in this story, to be honest. But let me know your opinions in the chat. Would you have replaced Kobbie Mainoo, or do you think we've done the right thing? United Till I Die says, if we're linked to any Spurs players, they'd better be cheap. Paying 53 million for Porro seems a bit of a rip-off. Yeah, I'm not sure I'd be running out to pay 53 million for any of those Spurs players actually this season. Jim says, I know we're going to buy players, but I'm beginning to wonder whether we're going to sign anyone we are linked to or anyone good. I think we'll definitely sign some good players, Jim. Whether they're the ones that we're being linked to all the time, I'm more sceptical of. With the World Cup around the corner, I do believe there'll be a player already kind of tied up, and my guess would be it's Belieber. I was a big fan of his probably 12 months ago, but these last 6-9 months, he's been poor. He's been very poor for Brighton. I wasn't impressed with him when we played him as well. So, yeah, it's a bit of a worry, that one. But I do think that we may have put the foundations in place. Whether that means we actually are going to execute that deal remains to be seen, but I wouldn't be surprised. Big up Jarvis. Hope you're good. Hope you're good, Jarvis. Nice to see you. United Till I Die says Leicester are in the mud, back-to-back relegations. Yeah, it's not good times to be a Leicester fan. You know, gone from winning the Premier League odds of 5,000 to 1 only 12 years ago. Was it 12 years ago? In fact, I don't even think it was that long. Was it 10, 11 years ago? And they've been relegated to League One. So sad times to be a Leicester fan. Katie says, did I see the Roy Keane comment? He said, Garnacho has the ego of Zlatan Ibrahimovic without the ability to match it. To be fair, that's quite accurate, isn't it? He had the like Ronaldo vibes about him, didn't he? When he broke into the first team, you thought, as I said earlier about Alex Scott, there's a player that can carry himself. The problem is he couldn't back it up, and he's been embarrassed this season, Garnacho. Nice to see the treatment from the United players as well at Stamford Bridge. That didn't go unnoticed. Gallo put in a nice tackle on him down by the corner flag. When I say tackle, it was kind of more of a forearm smash, but it was nice. It's good to see Garnacho getting thrown around. United Till I Die says, we'll bring back Danny Welbeck. I can just see it. We have no funds left. Need a backup striker. Would people bring in a backup striker? Obviously, we've got Sesko. We've got other players that have played there this season. So Cunha and Burmo. For me, Sesko's still better as a bench option. Whether that's going to change with another few games experience, with a summer behind him, I'm not sure, but I think at this stage in his development, he is a better bench option. We're a better team with Sesko coming off the bench. Yeah, a couple of comments here that I agree with. KD, the Chelsea win was major. Yeah, it was massive. It was massive. I would have been happy with a draw against Chelsea going into that game. I really would. You know, coming off the back of that defeat to Leeds, I thought at all costs we must not lose to Chelsea. We have to maintain that gap. But actually, as it turned out, you know, with other teams winning, Aston Villa, Liverpool got a late winner as well. That was actually a really big win. And that was the best way to cement the Champions League spot, which it more or less did. So yeah, massive. Absolutely massive. And then Dabisas says, perfect time to put a bid in for Caicedo. There's a good player. That would be a player that I would bring in. I know it's not realistic, but that type of player would be just enormous in our midfield. It would be, you know, that would be a monstrous signing. But yeah, not someone that we're going to be looking at, but he's a very, very good player. Katie says Sangare could be hard given that they'll lose Elliot Anderson. Yeah, they're not going to want to lose two, are they? They're not going to want to lose two. But there is a pecking order. There is a pecking order in the Premier League. So They're going to have to fight hard, I think, as well. The number 10 for Forest, Gibbs White, he's another one. I'm surprised he didn't leave last season. He's another one they're gonna struggle to keep hold of as well. Yeah, Jim's got a great point here. He says that Senesi from Bournemouth could be the one that Manchester United break the age rule of. Well, we're talking about 28, but something like late 20s. We could break the rule for because he's free. Yeah, I do agree. I think it's got to be one of two criteria, I think, to sign someone that is really coming into the kind of, I wouldn't say autumn of their career, but approaching their late 20s. I think it's going to have to be one of two criteria. The one is that they're free or they're very cheap, which would allow us to go and get other priority positions and priority players, or they're going to have vast experience either at Champions League level or at international level. United Till I Die says, Mainoo is a lovely lad. I'm glad he's staying. Yeah, one thing you can say about Mainoo is he's shown mentality, hasn't he? Like he didn't start a Premier League game, I'm pretty sure, until like halfway through the season. And his brother made him a T-shirt, but like Mainoo himself, we didn't see anything or any comments, any press conferences, anything, talking to journalists. We didn't see anything coming from Mainoo himself to suggest that he was being unprofessional or anything like that. So, he's knuckled down. I think Michael Carrick has taken him under his wing. And I think the players like Michael Carrick. And we're seeing that with, people coming out and getting behind him. Ahmad came out last week, put his name behind Michael Carrick for the job. So I know that players can do this. They've done this with other managers as well until it starts going a bit wrong. And then maybe they turn. But at the minute, it's a happy camp. United Till I Die says that Mainoo doesn't have the ego of a lot of our previous youth players. He's very level-headed, no drama, and just gets on with football. Yeah, I think that sums it up nicely, to be honest. Rich says Belieber price is high, but it might drop quite a lot, hopefully. Yeah, Belieber, is he one that's going to be in the World Cup? Obviously, Tonali's one we've been linked with, and he's a player that's not going to be in the World Cup. So I said earlier, I think if we do a deal, it will be later in the window for Tonali. It will have to be probably in the closing few days when Newcastle are desperate and the player's desperate to get a move. So maybe that won't make a difference. But Baleba, World Cup, I'm not sure if he's in the World Cup. That might be one where, the price might drop. United Till I Die. I think I'm correct. You're saying that we could already have a deal for Hackney tied up if the ownership have already sorted it out. I think that's what you're saying. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, that could be the early signing that we're talking about there, Hayden Hackney. Stephanie says United are to be sponsored by LinkedIn for the transfer window, allegedly. Okay. Just going to catch up with the comments. Just give me a second. I'm just reading all your comments. Rich says Garnacho is getting the Di Maria welcome. Yeah, absolutely. I was there. I was there at Old Trafford when Di Maria came back for PSG and Ashley Young put him in the stands. I was there. Yeah, it was great. Just talking about the striker here, I think. United Till I Die says he would bring in another striker. We have Mbermo and Sesko, but we need one more, even on a loan. Yeah, what are people's thoughts on Cheeto? Obviously, he hasn't played any part this season. But with more games next season, is he going to be brought in as a third option potentially in that attack? Big up Solly. Hope you're well. Hope you're well. He says, bring Welbeck home. And Rich says, I think we sign a left winger that can play striker. Yeah, this might be an option. Players that can play multiple positions. We've seen that a lot, other teams as well. So the likes of Liverpool, where they've had wide strikers who can also play up front. I'm thinking the likes of Gakpo, Luis Diaz, players like that. Brushy, hope you're well. Big up everyone. Oh, 3-0. 3-0. Wow. It's a bad day at the office for Chelsea. Oh no, Rich. Welbeck scored. He's going to be too expensive. He's still doing us. Yeah, he's still doing us favors. He's still doing us favors. Jim says players love Carrick. Half the training and loads of holidays. Yeah, I mean that's true, isn't it? They all went away to Dublin and came back and looked like they'd been on the booze for a week or two. They certainly didn't come back playing at their best. Solly says we need a Brighton fan on here. Give us the lowdown on Belieber. Whether it's been injuries, the fact that he didn't have a pre-season, or is he down tools? Yeah, I think Rich has had Brighton guests on before, so yeah, maybe we can. I think I was on the stream with the one you're talking about, Rich. So bad Dallo had you in his back pocket. Should not be a thing. I thought Dallo against Chelsea was excellent. Really good. Extra marks for the rough treatment of Garnacho as well. Mapuka, hope you're well. Good to see you. It says Ruta from Brighton looks good. Yeah, isn't he the one that scored against Spurs the other day? He's a handy player. Stephanie says, I would love both Cheeto and Heaven to thrive at United. Apparently they're great mates. It would really annoy Arsenal too. Yeah, I mean, anything to annoy Arsenal is a positive. I really like Aiden Heaven. He's every time you see him in like like when you see like behind the scenes from Carrington and between the players, Heaven's always in the thick of it, isn't he? He's a character, and for someone that's so young, he's got great confidence, and he's a funny guy by the look of it. So I imagine he's great to have around the dressing room. So yeah, good for team morale. But he's a hell of a player as well. Really good player. I do like him. Dabisas says Van Hecker would be his pick. Yeah, I mean, centre back, I think we need to sign one in the summer. I think a lot of people are are coming to that conclusion at the minute, particularly with the injuries we've had just in recent days. But really, you can't rely on the three senior centre-backs that we've got to play every game in a season. So Van Hecke would be a very good pick. I agree. Gregory, hope you're good. Hope you're well, Gregory. Good to see you in the chat. Jarvis says we only need 4 more points to mathematically guarantee a top 5 finish. Who'd have thought that? When Michael Carrick took over, who'd have thought that have we got 5 games to play? With 5 games to play, we only need 4 points to mathematically guarantee a Champions League finish. We might not even need to pick up any more points, depending on other results around us. But to finish in the Champions League from where we were, I think Carrick has done a very good job. Now, whether that means he should be the manager moving forward, that's going to divide opinion massively. But that does kind of take us on actually to my next slide, so I may as well go there. But there's an increasing likelihood that Michael Carrick is probably going to be given the job unless there's a big drop-off before the end of the season. This has been reported by Chris Wheeler and Nathan Salt, who are names that are regulars when it comes to Manchester United news. The club's hierarchy have been hugely impressed with him and his staff since taking over in January. But that's prefixed or suffixed with they are in no rush to make a hasty decision. So what are we thinking with regards to this one? You don't want it to be like a snap decision where you're reassessing every other game, because that's not really how it should work. In my personal opinion, we get the right man for the job. Now, if that's Michael Carrick, then great, because we've got him in the club already. The groundwork's already being laid as we speak. He could be involved in transfer talks, strategy talks, everything behind the scenes, building that kind of family in the dressing room with the players. It's a big boost. If he is the man, then I think that's a big boost, and that is good preparation for next season. But that's just my opinion. It doesn't mean he's the man. The club might have other opinions, and I think it's important that we get the right person in that job. So whoever that person is, we need to get that person. Gregory says Dalot was heavily motivated to succeed against Garnacho. I think they all were, weren't they? They all kind of gave him the cold shoulder when he came on, when he came off. It's good to see. You don't want players like high-fiving and swapping shirts, and this is a guy that's betrayed Manchester United. When he was at United, he was in the press, he was on social media, he's got family coming out, people talking. This is a player that betrayed his teammates. It was completely out of order, and I'm glad that he's got a bit of, comeuppance. United Till I Die says United Strand is going to have a world record by the end of this. Yeah. Word on the grapevine is that Rich is going to go. He's not going to cut his hair until United win 5 games as well, but that's just a rumour I've heard. Just a rumour. Rich says that Heaven is the bargain of the last few years. Yeah, I'd agree. 100%. 100%. 1.5 million for a player that's come in from an academy in another team and just slotted in like he's been here for a couple of years is remarkable. It's remarkable. Yeah, thanks, Gregory. Yeah, I mean, I haven't been feeling too great the last few weeks, so I was meant to come on probably about a month, well, probably about 6 weeks ago, and then I was ill for a couple of weeks, and then the channel was going through the change. So yeah, this is my first show back. So good to see you, Gregory. I've missed you in the comments. So yeah, good to see you. Solly says, would be good, get the Fletcher boys a game and Lacey finish the season early. Yeah, and this is what I was kind of alluding to earlier in the stream is now that the pressure is starting to ease, we may see the handbrake come off. We may see Lacey come on for 10 minutes. We may see Fletcher, one of the Fletcher boys, come on for 10 minutes. And this is what United's all about. It's about bringing through the youth and giving them a chance and seeing if they can sink or swim. If we don't give them the chance, we never know. And I think a lot of the problems in the last few years is because we haven't trusted enough of the youth players, as well as them not being good enough at times and attitude problems. I think there have been times when we've been guilty of not giving them a chance. The likes of the Alvaro left back. Alvaro didn't get a minute under Ten Hag. Went to Real Madrid. After a season at Benfica, went to Real Madrid. You've got James Garner. He was someone that did really well in pre-season, and then the season started and he was put in the dark. He didn't get a game. Other players, Dangor, etc. There's been plenty of others where really their development has stagnated or completely stopped because we've not given them the chance. And these are players that could have become first team players. They could have been players that went for significant amounts of money, but there we are. We've not done it, but I hope that in the next couple of games that we do see minutes for these boys, because I think it's important. And it's part of their development, United Till I Die says, I'm done with hipster managers who are all ego coming in and trying to implement their crap philosophies. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. Actually, I heard something earlier this week where they were talking about Michael Carrick, and they said, how many times have we heard Michael Carrick say, I need to instill my philosophies on the players? We haven't heard it. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You look back at that time under Ruben Amorim, and it was ridiculous. Big up, Danny. Hope you're good. Good to see you again. Oh, Rich says we played Brighton on the last match. Yeah, so we could have another look at Baliba. Maybe he'll do like a lap of honour and he might start crying and give us some clues that he's coming to Old Trafford. Who knows? Yarley. Good to see you, Yarley. Hope you're good. Can't let that Leeds game go. It's the worst football I've seen since Grimsby. I'll be completely honest, it was awful. It was really bad. However, I would say that we struggle against teams like Leeds. Physical teams, big, strong, fast, committed physical teams. I was there at St James's Park. We played Newcastle. They were big, strong, fast, committed. We struggled against them. We struggled against Leeds, who were the same. So I think this is not just a problem of this season. I think this has been for a number of seasons. We've struggled against the physicality of some other teams in the Premier League. And it's why at times we struggle against the bottom teams, because what they may lack in quality, they certainly don't lack in those other attributes. So yeah, it is very disappointing, that Leeds game. I hope it's a one-off between now and the end of the season, and I hope that with proper recruitment in the summer and backing of Michael Carrick, if it is Michael Carrick that is in the job, that we start to not see it next season. United Till I Die says Carrick has the best form of any manager since he came in. Yeah, I mean, the points return has surpassed, I think, anybody's expectations, and I think even Michael Carrick himself, like this has got to be way beyond what he thought was possible. I wouldn't say that performances have been great, with the exception of the first two against Arsenal and City. But points were the most important thing on this kind of last third of the season. It was all about points. Yeah, as Rich said, just to clarify for any newcomers to the channel, Rich is the regular host on solo streams, but I do some solo streams as well. This is my first one back on the channel as it is now, which is United TV. So I'm enjoying being back, and thanks for having me on, Rich. But yeah, I'm Jules, if you didn't know already. So good to see any newcomers. United Till I Die says Carrick has brought back respect to us, unlike Eric Ten Hag or Ruben Amorim. And Solly says no back-to-back defeats. Yeah, I heard this stat. Today. We've not lost back-to-back this season. Meanwhile, other teams around us have. So the likes of, I think Arsenal have lost back-to-back. Liverpool have definitely lost back-to-back. City, I'm not sure about City. But almost every other team has lost back-to-back, and we haven't, which is quite an impressive stat, actually. Rich says, was Nagelsmann offering himself to Real Madrid? Saw a few things, didn't look into it. Yeah, I didn't see the exact story actually, Rich, but in the past, and this is going back a few months, Nagelsmann, I don't know whether he has people on his behalf trying to tout him to other clubs, but he does seem like someone who's always trying to push for the next move. Potentially because he's in an international job, he's trying to put the feelers out for a club deal. I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know. He just seems like a person that's he's always there trying to get his fingers in different pies. So I'm not sure there'd be any interest from United in Nagelsmann. I think maybe it's the other way around, if there is any at all. Big up, Mr. B. Hope you're well. Good to see you on the channel the other day as well in the phone-in show. It's always good to see you. He says, "Hi everyone. What a shame that Chelsea was spanked 3-0. Now they're 6th, knocking down Chelsea to 7th." Yeah, I mean, I think looking at the table the other day, if Chelsea lose their next game, and let's say they draw and lose their next 2 games, they could be like down in 12th. That's really bad. And just to clarify the rumor that Richie's going to grow his hair, the actual story was that Helga, who's on the channel as a regular guest, says he's going to shave his hair if Carrick isn't in charge next season. So that's his level of confidence in Michael Carrick being the next boss. So want to look out for, certainly. Bald Helga will be a baller. Yeah. I'm good. I'm good, Gregory. Just a bit of I don't know whether it was flu, but it lasted for a good few weeks. Mr. B, Brentford fan, says we should go for Welbeck and he should be in the England squad. There's certainly, the options are probably Watkins and Kane, aren't they? I think Solanke, he made one of the more recent squads, but I wouldn't say his form has been excellent, to be honest. So I would I would take Welbeck at for England. I mean, I would have Welbeck there as an option. If we're taking three strikers, which I'm not sure if we will, but if we do, I would certainly have Welbeck as the third one. Jim says the players will play good enough to get Carrick over the line. Will it be next season when they drop off? Yeah, this is always the risk, isn't it? It's with any manager. Once you've had that initial bounce, which you know was the initial bounce the first two games, or are we still in it? I don't know, but sometimes just that what must have been quite a depressing time under Amarim. Now the players must just feel so like a pressure's been lifted off them, and it might be enough just to get us through to the end of the season, and then we have to reassess. We need to bring in reinforcements, as we know, with the extra games next season and the expectations that come with it. Yarley says, this is something to fear. Brighton have won 6 out of the last 8 games, and they were incredible against Chelsea. Yeah, I mean, Brighton, I thought were going to have a really good season, and it looked for probably the first 2/3 of the season like this was a bit of a dip from where they were. But yeah, certainly good form, and they're now on 48 points. We're on 58. Sorry, they're on 50 points. They're on 50 points. We're on 58. They have played a game more, so we've got eight points lead on them, and we've got a game. We've got a game in hand as well. So yeah, I think we'll be okay as long as we just keep picking up a few points between now and the end of the season. But yeah, it looks like Brighton, they could be in contention for Champions League, possibly. It would rely on one of Liverpool, probably Liverpool. It would probably rely on Liverpool having a bit of a slip up. So there's the carrot for us, isn't it? We've got to play Liverpool. There's the carrot. If we beat Liverpool, put them under a bit of pressure from Brighton, just adds a bit of an extra something into that game. Solly says he's in favour of Carrick. No back-to-back losses. United DNA and mentality. Maybe he can find the standard that we can input more youth. Yeah, I think so far if I had to have a kind of negative comment or one that wasn't so positive about Carrick, it would be that I've been disappointed with the amount of minutes the younger players have had. Even Aiden Heaven, because my personal opinion was that if one of Maguire or it would have been, I suppose, Martinez at the time, if one of those two weren't playing, my first pick would have been Aiden Heaven. And we've hardly seen him. And I think he's a very good player, and I think he deserves more minutes. So, yeah, I think to be ultra critical, I would have liked to have seen more minutes from some of the younger players. United Till I Die says he's backing Carrick because we just keep going round and round in circles. No top manager is available that changes this. Carrick has the best form of any manager, and there's no point disrupting this rhythm. Yeah, I think the no top manager available is one thing that probably leans towards Michael Carrick, because you look at the other options out there, and there aren't many. There aren't many top options out there. So if you do replace Carrick, which we've got to consider that, it has to be a consideration at the very least. We must replace him with the right person and someone that's going to be a good appointment, which you can't predict, but you got to look at their track record and a combination of that and their trajectory, and there are things that Carrick has in his favour that other managers don't, such as he knows the club. He's worked with a lot of the players before. Those couple of things are invaluable. So he's got things in his corner. He lacks experience, but he's certainly got some positives he can bring on his CV. But I'm just going through the chat here. If you want to have any questions and whatever, just put them in, and we'll talk about those. Just jumping back to the main story of the day, and it was just that the TCHOUAMENI deal looks like it has come to a conclusion prematurely, and that is because Real Madrid have decided they do not want to sell TCHOUAMENI and are not open to any offers. So that is one where it looks like that one is dead in the water. But just going through your comments, so I'll bring some of these up as I go down. Solly says, Nagelsmann to Madrid wouldn't surprise me. I see no reason to change Carrick for now. We lost quality later for reasons beyond Carrick. Yeah, there's mitigating circumstances, isn't there? Like, yes, the performances have kind of tailed off, but it does coincide with a number of injuries and suspensions. So there are kind of mitigating circumstances. There aren't a huge deal of options. When the team at the minute kind of, you've got to say it picks itself, because he can only really pick from 12 players at the minute. You might have an option of, do we go with Sesko or do we leave Sesko on the bench? And that is kind of that's your rotation. There isn't really anything beyond that, because we've seen the huge drop off when the likes of Agate come into the team, for instance. Stephanie's got an interesting question. Would the Leeds game have been different if Yoro and Heaven were the centre-back pairing and Paul Tierney wasn't the ref? I'm not going to even start on Paul Tierney. You're rage-baiting me, Stephanie. You're rage-baiting me because you know what I'm going to say. But yeah, I think it would have been different. I think Martinez in that game bred a lack of confidence to Yoro. Martinez was all over the place in that game against Leeds. I think that lack of confidence made the defence unstable. I think Yoro was unstable because of Martinez's lack of composure and leadership in that particular game, because I think he has played well next to Maguire. But in that particular game, Martinez was very poor. And as a senior member of that back line, I put most of the responsibility on him. So yeah, I think Heaven would have been good alongside Yoro. Gregory says, Carrick shows up and does a job. He probably needs to switch substitutes quicker. That's been something I've picked up from seeing people in the comments and on social media, is that sometimes his substitutions could be made earlier, which that's a valid opinion to have. Yali says, we had an XG of 0.21. Not sure if people know just how lucky we got against Chelsea. We also had the Newcastle debacle. The paint of Carrick is falling off quickly. Yeah, I mean, the Chelsea game, it could have gone either way, couldn't it? I think Chelsea had more chances than us. They certainly did. I can think of, was there 2 chances that we had? 2 serious chances. Chelsea hit the post 3 or 4 times in that game, or the woodwork. So, I don't think it wasn't really a fair reflection of the game that we won, but we rode our luck, and it was the determination of the team when our backs were against the wall, and we've put in a clean sheet, we've got the result, and I think we got what we deserved in that respect. In a pure, footballing sense, we didn't play great football. But yeah, I think now that what that's given us in terms of a breathing space between us and the team in 6th place, I think that is going to allow us, in my opinion, to be a bit more front-footed in, and probably less just play with a bit more freedom, I would say. Gregory says Welbeck would be an upgrade for United from Xerxes. Katie says he's seen some reports that Everton want Hackney. So if that's true, I haven't seen that, but if that's true, could that be an indication that they're preparing a replacement for James Garner, perhaps? Because I see them as similar types of players. I think James Garner would be an excellent addition as well, but I don't see that one happening because I think we've burnt our bridges with that player. I don't think he was very complimentary about the club after he left, so I'd be surprised if he wants to come back. But if he does, I think he would be an excellent signing. Yarley says Brighton are 8 points behind us. If we lose 3 games, they'll be breathing down our necks. Yeah, I mean it's not. It would take a remarkable turnaround. It's not insurmountable. If they're able to string a few results together, we've got some difficult games. So, it's not inconceivable. But I would like to think that we can get the job done, and yeah, hopefully see some exciting football, and hopefully put another nail in the Liverpool coffin as well. Stephanie says United's hardest remaining game is the next one at home to Brentford. Yeah, that is a difficult game. We do struggle against Brentford, and Brentford are a very good team, so that is going to be difficult. Dabisas says Vivell should seal the deal with Stiller. Yeah, I'd really like Stiller. He's one that we spoke about earlier in the show. I would like that player. I think he's exactly what we need actually in midfield. Ollie Biscuit Barrel, good to see you. Hope you're well. He says, Belieber looked good tonight. How much of that was down to a dreadful Chelsea is hard to say. I'd be delighted to get Scott in. Yeah, Alex Scott, we talked about earlier in the show. I'm a fan of that player. I think he's a good player. He's got what it takes to be a United player, in my opinion. But yeah, good to know that Belieber's played well tonight against what I imagine was a very strong Chelsea midfield, because that is the one area of their team where they do excel. I think we suffered in that area against Chelsea. I thought Casemiro wasn't at his best, to be honest, in that game. I think he struggled, with the exception of his aerial prowess in the box. I think he struggled. Mainoo, I thought, did well, but he was stretched all over. He couldn't do it all on his own. So if Balibas had a good game, then credit to him. Credit to him. And Solly says he would still be interested in Belieber as well. I might have to watch that game back. I'd be interested to see. Yeah, Solly says it was a criticism of Carrick at Middlesbrough, his subs timing. When I looked at kind of the Middlesbrough forums and that when we were being linked with Carrick, the one kind of critique that I saw was that the style of football was a bit pragmatic. It was more aimed at kind of keeping it tight and really trying to limit the opposition and then try and create chances of your own, but it wasn't free-flowing football. Now, it's difficult to say whether that's what we're seeing at United, because he's kind of, for a start, he's not playing the same football he is at Middlesbrough, because at Middlesbrough he played with one very attacking fullback, and we just don't have an attacking fullback at Manchester United. Luke Shaw doesn't seem capable of crossing the halfway line. Dalot, I think he's more athletic than Shaw. He can get up into those positions, but his final delivery is poor. And I think we've seen a more reserved Dalot in an attacking sense in the last few games under Carrick, and I think he's reverted to more defensive solidity. But I think we've suffered in attack because of that. So I don't know. I would like to think that, given the players, he could make it work with more attractive football. But yeah, I mean, there's no evidence of that, is there? So yeah, it's more. That's probably one of the concerns that I've got, is the style of football. Gregory, this might be question of the night. He says, please name a single Premier League referee who doesn't trigger some negative reaction. Oh, goodness me. I can't really, to be honest. Want to say that in the Chelsea game, I thought Michael Oliver had a decent game. However, he's done us dirty in the past, in big games. Big up, Luca. Hope you're well. Yeah, I've got a question for you, Luca, actually. So the three midfield targets we've been linked with today, or certainly in the last couple of days, there's KOOPMEINERS, there's TCHOUAMENI, there's Alex Scott. There's a load of others as well, but TCHOUAMENI seems to be off the table. But would you take Alex Scott at Arsenal? Is he that level? Is he that calibre of player that we should be looking at? And would he be someone that Arsenal would look at, for instance? Because I would like to think if you were looking at him, then no, we're shopping in the right shops, so to speak. Big up V, hope you're well. He says, love a bit of transfer gossip. Oh, you'll love it here then. There's transfer gossip every day. Manchester United, the Transfer Gossip magazine. And he's gone in very confident. Alex Scott will join Manchester United. So you've heard it here first. I'd be pleased if we could get this deal done. For some reason, it seems to be picking up legs in the last couple of days. I'm not sure why or what has prompted that, but yeah, I hope this is a player that we can move forward with. Thanks for keeping a tab on the likes, Stephanie. So 29 likes is fantastic. So thank you so much for that. But if you haven't already, just check, see if you've liked the channel, like the show, and if you haven't, if you could, drop a like. It doesn't cost anything, so that would be much appreciated. But Katie says he thinks that with quality, it's easier to implement the style. You've got to use the tools at your disposal, haven't you? You know, if you're building a house and you've picked up a set of tools from Poundland, you're probably not going to get the best outcome. But you know, if you've gone and spent money on Ryobi tools or something like that, then you might be able to build a better house. So it's a crude analogy, but I think it translates, doesn't it? Ultimately, if you've got the players to play the football, then you're going to get a better outcome on terms of the kind of style of football that you'll see. David Ellery, there's a name from the past. David Ellery. Peter Willis, blimey, this is going back, isn't it? You'll say Uriah Rennie next, or I tell you what, Paul Durkin was a good referee. I like Paul Durkin. Yarley says, do Chelsea actually have worse owners than the Glazers? That cannot be possible. I tell you, it's looking a bit of a shambles at Chelsea, isn't it? You know, they brought in, they had a manager in Maresca who was highly rated, even to the point where Man City were looking at him to replace Pep, which, you know, that would have been an astonishing rise from where Maresca was in his post at Leicester to a move to Man City. But it was talked about in those circles, if you like, and they went and got Liam Rossini from another Bluecoat company club. Very strange move, in my opinion. And from minute one, he was a bit of a joke in terms of when he was speaking to the media. He comes out with sound bites, and you just think you're making yourself such an easy target for the media, and they've jumped all over him, absolutely all over him. I think it was just a very badly advised appointment. Another shout from Yarley for a player called Shay Charles. Who's Shay Charles? I've heard of him. Who does he play for? Solly's got a basic toolkit. Tape measure, bust on the first use. Yeah, don't go for the cheap tools. Don't go for the cheap tools. Yeah, if we've got any more questions, get them in the chat. We'll be around for maybe another 5 minutes, say. But any final questions you want to bring up, either to me or to other people, to gauge opinion, or any other stories that you want to cover, we'll give it another 5 minutes. And Stephanie, thank you for keeping a tab on the likes again. 32 likes we're up to now, so great effort from everyone. So thank you. And Yali says, okay, so this is Shay Charles. He's a DM playing for Southampton. Okay, I knew the name, but yeah, I don't think I've seen that player. I've heard it. I've heard his name. I'll look out for him. Yali says Maresca had enough about him. Yeah, I think basically he could see the writing on the wall there, that he's not going to get anywhere with that Chelsea team the way it was being run, and he's I imagine offered them an ultimatum, and yeah, it kind of has fallen apart, hasn't it? And Solly says it must be hard for an elite player to manage a not quite elite team, having to adjust tactical expectations. This is something that people used to talk about with Roy Keane, wasn't it? That Roy Keane potentially got frustrated with, particularly when he was at Ipswich, at the calibre of player that he had, and he just wasn't used to it. You know, he was used to playing with elite teammates at Manchester United, etc. And the fact that he didn't have that at Ipswich, and to a degree Sunderland as well, although he did get Sunderland promoted. Okay, I'll go with I'll go with this final question from Gregory. So he says, which 3 realistic midfield transfers this summer do I anticipate? Okay, I've had all stream to think about this because someone asked me this. In fact, I think a couple of people asked me this earlier, and I was kind of on the fence. So I'm gonna go with Matheus Fernandes, Alex Scott, and that third option. I'm going to go with Anderson. I don't think that's what we'll end up with, though. I think Baleba, as Yarley says, I think Baleba is the most likely of all our targets, just because I believe we'll have put in the groundwork and it will be quite an easy deal to do, in my opinion. But I just want to say, like, thanks to everyone that's tuned in today. There's been so many comments, I've barely been able to keep up. So if I've missed some of your comments, I apologise. But there's been so many good ones in there. I wish I could show them all. But you know, Jim, Solly, Yarley, Stephanie, Rich, got Jay as well. Hope you're well, Jay. I've got Gregory. There's KD, you know, Berber. There's so many names I could reel off. Thank you. It's been a great first stream back on the channel. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I've certainly enjoyed it. And yeah, if you haven't done already, please hit the like. Subscribe to the channel if you're new for more Manchester United content. Rich will be back tomorrow, and we'll see you again.